Okay, so we have James Van Elswyk, which I am more than excited to have on the Wolfcast today. And I was walking the dog, okay, like 20, 30 minutes ago, and I thought, how the fuck do I start even explaining who you are to me? So it's gonna be probably a long intro. I haven't, I don't write any of these things down, but I don't think you even understand the level of impact you had on my personal and career, like business wise. It's you're probably up there, like probably number one. So just a quick story. I think the last time we told that story, I think it was 2018. So the way that you and I met is actually through the platforms. You were working with Google, I was working with them. Someone that told you, I think it was Yoav back there. I think he forgot the way that the office looks like by now. We're very old. And he said there is a guy crashing it or something, and then Facebook said something about it, and then we connected somehow. Um, and you back then you were living in Tel Aviv, I remember, still dating the same woman that I think you're married to now. And then I remember there was a rainy day. I think it was Saturday. Was when I still went out of the house, which I rarely do now. And you told me, hey, you know what? Affiliate World are also looking for like, speakers. And I think you've been doing it for like a year or two, something like that. And and I was like, wow, dude, you know what? I always kind of like secretly wanted to do that, but I'm not sure that I have it. And you're like, yeah, dude, like do it, just do it, stuff like that. And I think the first time I spoke was Geek Out 2018. Um, Somehow I was funny, I think, without even like trying to. Um, and then, as if this part wasn't enough, and the fact that we actually worked together wasn't enough, I don't think I ever explained how big Geek Out was for me. Because, it's like, those testimonials of like a conference, people say, hey, this is a life-changing event. I meet someone, it's only like one person that changes your business and stuff. I am a fucking living proof of the level that Geek Out, like, I don't think you understand. I mean, you probably see it on social media, but I would not have a bachelor's party and or even a fucking happy wedding if it wasn't for Geek Out. You
Dude,
you have
listen, your bachelor party was like all Geek Out attendees. It was like a wedding Geek Out, dude.
yeah, I mean, listen, from even Samantha, the producer of Geek Out became a friend, so I'm like texting with her daily. Like, so for me, Geek Out, and that shows, and we're gonna talk about Geek Out probably in a few minutes, but dude, first of all, thank you. But second, this shows, I think, how Geek Out is different. Again, we're probably gonna talk about it, but okay. So this was, I don't think you ever got that level of like an intro.
Bro, listen, I have like a lot to say about this. First off, thank you so much for being so thoughtful to mention this. Okay, step one. Step two, like, dude, I've watched you grow up with your online persona like so much, like literally from like nothing to now to be like on a podcast with you, right? So like when I was telling my wife, oh, I'm doing a podcast with Maor, she thought I was asking you questions. I was like, no, dude, now he has a podcast and it's like fucking big with like a lot of people that listen to it. Bro, I just remember the first time you spoke, it was 2018, maybe 2017. It was actually in Barcelona. Beautiful event, by the way. Like it was a nice event. And you were nervous as shit behind the stage.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was like, dude, get this guy a shot. And you're like, will that help? And then, and dude, you got on stage and like people had a great response to you. And it's like I said to you in text yesterday, like, you're a super entertaining, likable person in real life. Everyone talks to you, they remember you, you made them laugh. Even I can remember my wife when she met you. She said, oh, he's so funny, and that transfers to podcasts or on screen or whatever, man. Like it's a deserved thing, and you've found the right place. And also, like, you're super fucking good with what you do with advertising and shit, man. Like, super super good. I kind of continue to uncover nuggets of how good you are by talking to people all over. So it's perfect for you to do something like this, man. I'm very happy
Oh,
that I was
thank you. I
helpful to get that
appreciate it.
started.
And no, I definitely appreciate that. I don't think you can do whatever we do for a long amount of time if you don't love it. And I think that explains some of the stuff that I am not sure that you and Nick understood throughout the way why I'm so obsessed with Geek Out. You know what I mean? Because I totally became obsessed because I learned how to recognize a good thing, like a wave that you need to catch early on, just like a campaign, anything that's like that has like momentum because it's like I think that there's like a life cycle, to like clubs, restaurants, there's like a hype, everyone wants to get in, it's super exclusive. There is a queue, and then like everyone gets in, and then the owner starts making offers on Groupon just so that people, that's like kind of like the end of the cycle. So it's you wanna catch that very early on because the amount and level of friendships that I've made and business opportunities is fucking astounding. And also, just like it wasn't just like something um it wasn't the same kind of like people, I met people from Latvia that are 15 years younger than me. When I booked some of their flights, I got their passports, and it's like over 2000 they were born. It's like, wow.
Yes.
So it's like babies. And then I met people who are older than me, like Todor from Bulgaria, and so it's like such a wide range. So definitely, yeah. So I actually wanted to ask you something. You've been in the industry for so fucking long, and I wanted to open up with and ask you, like, what are like the biggest non-trivial things that changed um, throughout, let's say the last 10 years or 5 years even, let's look at a shorter period of time. Like when you say, I feel like there's like inflation with everything, there is the inflation that no one speaks about, which I don't think you're aware of, which is like dating. There is inflation. I hope that you're not aware of, at least. And it's much harder to date or find someone normal, and just you need more money, you need to look better, you need to be taller. Every year it's like it's getting harder and harder, and it's the same with business and this industry in particular. So what would you say the non-trivial things, if you had to come up with like one or two?
The non-trivial thing, as far as, well, let me just talk about your inflation concept, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's bad and it scares me sometimes, man. And I do see it in everywhere we go, that everything has just become harder and harder. Like, just it's, I always refer to it as like margin compression, less as inflation. But like, look, I started with lead generation and debt settlement in 2008, right? And then I saw that industry get like more and more advanced to now. They know their numbers so well that there's like no longer an inequality between supply and demand. So like Facebook prices went up, payouts went down. And this is really what kills verticals like every time, is that there's like that increase in price and decrease in revenue, and then it just kills something, right? And I've seen this on the media side like again and again. Obviously in life also, dude. Like, I make a lot of money, but I take a look at like the jump of, I mean, not like a lot of money, but dude, basically a lot of money, right? And then I'm like, holy shit, like, for me to have the same life in 10 years, I'm going to be take a lot more money, because pre-COVID cost of living till now, look, I'm booking flights to Barcelona to go to affiliate takeover and go to Geek Out, etc. The cost for flights is like 3x it used to be. So it scares me, dude. I think the world is getting more competitive. It's harder to get people's attention in ads. It's harder to do like anything. It just, people are better at what they're doing. And like, you probably see it now too, as media buying generationally. I feel like I'm finally old enough to see like cycles of people come through. Like people like Jason Akataf, they've been through like the different evolutions from Nutra to gadgets to lead gen, whatever. this new generation of media buyers that are like 20 years old or 21 years old are fucking savage because they're just learning it all so much faster than we did. So
Yeah, I
yeah, dude, I
think,
think it's more
yeah,
competitive.
I remember once I was in your office in Tel Aviv and you told me something that really stuck with me up till now. You told me that the one thing that a person cannot buy or be replaced with is the experience that they have. This is the only thing that actually takes time, and you can't move time faster. And I think there is a pro and a con to the fact that those 20-year-olds are like savages. I find that they're much more like if I look at the less sunny side of things, I think that they're much more influenced from like the Instagram culture, and they want things very fast, and that causes them to look at things. They don't like, for example, someone told me about the concept of no ship, and I was like, it's the first time I heard about it. Basically, around a shop, you don't ship whatever you sell, which is a scam. And the fact that those people, we have conversations about it, that they don't even grasp the fact that this is not, you know, um, in terms of just like ethics, it's just not the right way to do.
No,
Uh,
ethically, dude, they're way worse, dude, because they come in on fast money demand. Obviously, fastest money is scams. They get into a group of people that are already doing this shit, and they're so like young, their moral compass hasn't even had a chance to develop. And if you're surrounded by a bunch of people that tell you something is okay, you're like, oh, okay, it's okay. I'll just keep doing it. Like they don't even understand, like actually, that there's a human on the other side of the click that is like a victim of a scam. It's just, oh, I'm gonna get a higher conversion rate. But
yeah,
yeah, that's at the expense of fucking someone over. But since people don't see their face, like these kids are good people, they wouldn't rob an old lady in the
yeah,
street,
yeah.
but they'll rob her with fucking deceptive Medicare ads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think like the main, I think that yes, they might be very good at technically what they do, but going back to like the experience thing, I think that I became a very good lie detector. I understand business much better. It's much more than like the funnels, the creatives for me. At the moment, I think I look at, first of all, technically, I started looking up and studying things that I wasn't even aware of, like payment processing stuff or like just like logistics and 3PLs and how sourcing works and stuff like that. Because the interesting thing that kept going throughout, I don't know, even the last 10 years that I've been in the industry is that it's very much segmented. So the people inside like the Amazon space are not even aware of the people who are like in the e-com Shopify world and the affiliate world
Yeah.
and the agency world and stuff like that. The one thing that kept going in terms of like, reoccurring theme was the fact that um, the agency guys want to be affiliates, the affiliates want to be brand owners, the brand owners want to go to Amazon, the Amazon people want to do arbitrage, stuff like that. So it's almost like the grass is always greener. But I really, I had a talk with one of the top guys in advertising here in Israel. Like he manages like 15 companies. He's like up there, very, very one of the biggest, like, influential people. And he told me that this is it. AI won. We had the opportunity, to open up like a department here doing stuff like that. And he told his managers, like, if you don't know how to bring, the money back home after like 6 months, don't even bother because everything is gonna change by AI. And I'm a person that always believes that, money is out there to be made, but I also ask myself the question, if I was to start at this day, I don't know, like I feel sorry for people who have to, start right now, especially with what you said, the inflation costs, like the amount of money that you need to buy an apartment if you want to live in a good place, is it's much harder, it's much harder, and it's always been it's only been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years since COVID. So just imagine how it's gonna be looking forward.
No, I think there's a lot of unfairness in the world for younger people, man. Like just in America, especially, like if you take a look at like how much income has gone up versus how much rent costs have gone up, or how much it is to buy a house, like a whole generation of people just got fucked.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just, it is what it is. But going back to something you said, look, the thing that the younger kids don't understand, and I think people that once they get more experience, not even people like year 2 or 3 in the game, but even later, this whole marketing thing is business development, dude, because the offer is going to be the most important thing, always, always, always. And that's a business development play, dude. It's understanding how to lurk around in the waters, figure out who's who in the zoo, and get closer and closer to the source. Bro, traffic is already so optimized. It's entered an equilibrium between Pmax and the level that Facebook is at now, even though Facebook sucks. I just hate it right now. The shit's not manual anymore. It's basically like pretty fucking automated, and AI will make it more. But AI is not gonna find sick offers. Like that's the last piece of alpha left that as a business development play. AI is not going to take over business development and relationships. That's where the money will be left. You know, is finding this shit. You know,
I,
thinking
I
out.
definitely I agree that it's much more automated, but I feel like the fact that most people think like that at the moment only opens up the window to people like me, that are like growth hackers. Because when I find something, it's big. You know, sometimes it could be something extremely small, like uh, a checkbox that you uncheck or check on the campaign settings, and sometimes it's like a campaign structure or like the old way of like few accounts and stuff like that, and that opens up the way to really ride the wave. But I completely agree that it's not how it used to be with like the OCPM area, where you can, you had to be, I don't know, like a quarter of like a developer in order to, publish a campaign and stuff like that. But I want to talk about you for a second. Okay, so I also feel like there are like many different people in the industry, but there is also kind of like a unifying line that connects between people. Like, for example, the connection to personal development. This is something that, again, has been a recurring theme when I spoke to people. Um, and I feel like I'm a completely different person almost every year, like different opinions, even different life targets or goals and stuff like that. So I want to talk about you, like the last year or two. What has been like different for you, or how have you changed throughout the last 12 months?
Yeah, dude. On a look, it's on a very personal level, but that's where we're going with this. Um, I had some deep learning lessons, dude. Like, I'm old now, or I'm getting older, right? Like, I'm in my late 40s. It's pretty old. I'm almost 50. And I learned like some real, what I think to be like new truth, which is people change and relationship change. And a relationship between two people will change over time. And it's the reestablishment of the balance of those two people that keeps a friendship alive. I've in life a lot of times been very black or white, and learning to like accept the gray is also cool. That like, hey, you have a friend, but something changes in your life. It's okay if you're not as close as you used to be. It's okay to be in this new space, you know? And
Yeah. My
that's a,
therapist calls it the contract, rewriting the contract between two people.
exactly, brother. Exactly. I've done a lot of therapy shit this year. The last 2 years even. So I think learning to like kind of accept that has been big. And then the other thing has been I've always had a habit of jumping ahead in my thinking. So like let's say like a little bad thing happens, my mind will go to like the bad, 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 bad next step that could happen. Like I've had a very difficult and traumatic life, so I have very defensive thinking, but sometimes that defensive thinking is too defensive. Like I don't need it anymore. So it makes me make decisions based on protection from potential downside that don't even fucking exist. So like kind of learning to look at the world a little bit more like accurately, if you will, and not just react to it has helped me make a lot of better decisions. Like I'm not making as much reactionary knee jerk decisions. I'm making more thoughtful decisions. And that's been like awesome. Also in relationships, right? There were things like people would say some shit and then it would like piss me off, but I wouldn't know why it pissed me off. But I'd be like, fuck, that pisses me off. Well, it's like by exploring that, I started to realize, like, hey, it's not really pissing you off. There's some unresolved shit inside of you
Yeah.
that's creating this reaction. But I was making
Like
bad
like
decisions for the reason.
like after every time you spoke to me. I'm joking, I'm joking.
Thanks, asshole.
No, I mean, listen, I have a lot to say about this. First of all, regarding the contract, if I look at it business wise, I think that a lot of people have the expectation of like, hey, if we started a business together, we're in it till we, ride or die kind of like mentality, which I don't think is matches it doesn't match reality. At the end of the day, this is like a train, going, and sometimes the stops are along the way, and it's okay that you and me did something together, and it's okay if you after a year or 5 years you're not the same person, you have more money, less money, you have different goals, different aspirations, different targets in life, and you want to step down. And that doesn't mean, because even people that you and I know together, some people that have been in business with me, for example, they thought that the only way to get out is to kind of like stab me, or like run away with the money, or like the business, whether if they just approached me and said, hey, it's been good, I want to do this by myself. I would have gone, okay, bro, I'm not gonna make anyone, be my partner if they don't want to. So that is regarding, rewriting the contract, and regarding kind of like going forward in the way that you think if something bad happens, and like how you move forward. I think it has to do a lot with how people interpret different situations. I think that we act a lot on how we acknowledge things and not how things were, and this happens probably in every relationship. I would sometimes ask my past girlfriends, hey, is the dishwasher clean? Whether I just wanted to know if I can, grab something out of it, or like, clean it myself. And what they heard was, hey, why didn't you clean, or why didn't you start the dishwasher? And they would react as if I came at them. So that's, I think, something that happens a lot of times. It's not exactly like moving forward in terms of like looking what's the next bad thing that could happen, but
No, but it's the same thing. It's perception guiding response instead of reality guiding
yeah.
response.
Okay. And in terms of business, what's new, what's changed?
Dude, I'm like a better business person now. I've just learned a lot. Like the last couple of years, I've worked with some people that were more advanced than me at business, you know? And one person especially was way more advanced than me. So like I was able to see a lot of the way their like operating system works, how they negotiate things, how they deploy capital, how they make deals, like the kind of more nuanced parts of things. And it's been very helpful, man, to get a fresh look. Like I've had an amazing partner in Daniel. Obviously, you know Daniel over the last 10 years, right? And I learned so much from him because he was definitely a better business person than me when we started, right? But then after 10 years, I learned most of the shit from Daniel, right? Like it's 10 years. And I always have different businesses on the side, and I worked with someone new, and I just saw a different way of looking at business. And I'll kind of summarize the biggest thing that I learned from him because I really like it. You can look at a spreadsheet of your numbers, right? So let's say you make a projection and then you update it with actuals, and then you need to make the next projection, right? So I'm like Mr. Optimist. So I look at the actuals and I'm like, just full on hopium, right? Like, oh, this next projection, I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna fix that, I'm gonna fix that, I'm gonna fix that. And then other people are like doomcasters, where they look at the actuals and they're like, oh, but this shouldn't have been like this because the conversion rate was high because it was a holiday and it's gonna crash and burn, whatever. So this dude who is entrepreneurial spirit, he's an optimistic person, but when he looks at the actuals, he just sees the actuals. Like he has no emotional attachment to the actuals, right? He really just looks at it honestly and accurately. And I've been working on really just letting my actuals be my actuals. and just really have a more honest thing. Don't be too optimistic, don't be too negative, and make sure there's not like a personal connection or perception driving my analysis of numbers. And that's been a big changer for me in business. It's a small thing, but I think you would understand it, that it can have like a really big effect to the direction of your business.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you have to kind of like actually do and not, talk. It's hard to speak about it like in theory, but how does that apply, for example, to your telehealth thing?
Great question. Okay, so like with telehealth, we're signing up people, right? You're going to measure. Okay, so first off, we built a telehealth platform that's kind of like a Shopify for telehealth, so that if people want to get started with a telehealth brand, within like just a couple of weeks, you can get started. We help supply the doctors, the pharmacies, everything. You sign up, and then you're basically able to launch ads very quickly after it. It literally is like a Shopify for telehealth. So it's a startup, right? So you have to make decisions. You have to make capital decisions. So you want to be optimistic or do you want to be negative? So you take a look. Okay, how many clients do we need to sign up? Simple example. How many clients do we need to sign up to break even? Okay. And you have a goal. And then you go to the actuals, you don't hit the goal. Now, you can look at it in a very honest point of view and say, hey, we didn't hit the goal because I didn't hit the mark when I was selling the service or whatever the case may be. You can be optimistic and say, oh, but next month I'm going to get so many people to sign up. Or you could be a doomcaster and be like, oh, dude, we have a problem with the business. Nobody likes our product, whatever. So when you have those three different situations, if you're reactive and now you make a planning for the next quarter, right? Well, if you use those fucked up perceptions, your planning is going to be bad, right? And this is kind of like every time I look at planning, I realize if my mood or perception of my numbers is off, then my decisions are going to be off, and then it's
Changes
going to
the
fuck up
whole
my business.
strategy of the business. And it's, by the way, I think in telehealth, it's very easy to be kind of like doomsy, like if you look at HIMSS, the second Lily, takes like, or Novo, they decide not to do something with them or like, cancel a contract, the stock falls down like 30%. It's like, it's very aggressive, it's very volatile.
Listen, the reason, and you understand data, the reason it seems volatile is there's not a lot of historical data.
Yeah.
It's a new space. So things that will be a blip on a 5-year time horizon look like a massive thing. And dude, the other thing with the telehealth thing that's just so kind of crazy is everyone thinks telehealth and they think weight loss and GLP-1s. But it's just so much more than that. You know what I mean? Like we have clients running for erectile dysfunction, men's hair loss, women's hair loss, NAD, Samorlin, like warts. Like there's so much stuff besides GLP-1s, but affiliates always go to the same place. They see people doing GLP-1 stuff with like Future Health or Remedy meds, and they're like,
Yeah.
GLP-1s, GLP-1s.
I think that that's the biggest thing that hasn't changed with affiliates is the fact that um, this is what separates someone who is more like pioneering and like goes towards like being more innovative. Affiliates are just 90% of them are just spying and copying, and that's the mentality. And somehow it still works. Some of them stopped using other people's like ads, maybe, but they're still looking for whatever's working. So they duplicate the offers, they just chase it down, and if it works for them, then great. But I don't think it's a sustainable thing. And I think that on the long run, even research says that you're gonna make more money doing so. So, I mean, yes, it's much more than GLP-1 for sure. And I think that that's one of the industries that COVID has changed forever. Because after COVID, there was still talks. Is the FDA going to ban meeting doctors online because that was just like temporarily solution for that period of time? And I was like, hell no, that's the best fucking solution because when you go to a doctor, 95% of the time, he doesn't even need to meet you, in person. And if they do, they just send you to do tests and then you have to come to them again. People are optimizing their time. They're staying much more at home, less on the road even. So it's definitely, for me, it was a no-brainer, something that's going to move forward. So it's a Shopify for people who are entrepreneurs who wanna set up. Um, I don't think you mentioned the name. by the way?
Dosable.
Dosable.
Dosable.com.
So do you like for like as an advertiser, do you get like legit script? Do you guys help with that and
I
stuff?
help with everything. We introduce
Perfect.
them to the
A to Z.
pharmacies, we introduce them to the doctors, merchant processing, legit script setup. We have people getting set up in 3 to 5 weeks, including all the shit that they need to do to get ready, which is the long part. Us setting up their instance is much faster. You just need like a lot of guidance in the beginning. We have a doctor on our team that helps them with the medications and talking to the pharmacy, etc. It's a pretty incredible opportunity because like we know as advertisers, just looking at like ClickBank or Digistore offers for the last 10 years, there's a problem with toe fungus. To use that example, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you go and there's only ClickBank offers supplements, a cream, and a very, very expensive medication. But it's $1 billion problem. Well, if there's no telehealth brand there, you have an opportunity to get into a validated $1 billion market. The reason affiliates like to copy shit is it lowers the risk that they're going to fail because they see someone else working, right? I like telehealth because you can take a risk by doing something new, telehealth, but you're not risking the product market fit. Like you know there's a problem with this.
Mm.
So you're minimizing the risk there. And I think that's why affiliates copy. It's like a risk versus reward thing. I think the other thing that's so cool about telehealth is there's just so little money that needs to go into it because the pharmacies drop ship the medication. So if I want to start a direct to consumer brand, and you went through this, you had direct to consumer brand, inventory management is terrible. Like it is just buying it, forecasting it, have too much, don't have enough, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to telehealth, you're not buying any medication until someone actually purchases it from you. So you just don't have the same capital outlay. It's drop shipping. So it's a much better chance for people that are good advertisers to start their own brand than lead generation. You need to have a sick biz dev team to get enough buyers to support your lead gen efforts. If you want to do your own e-commerce stuff, you need to buy a bunch of fucking inventory. So this is, I think, the easiest way for an affiliate to make a transition. There's still risk, but a
And it's
lot
more than
less.
that. I feel like there is the communication between someone who's like in digital marketing and the other side. You mentioned like lead gen. Just for example, if you have to talk to lawyers in like the mass tort space or stuff like that, it's a nightmare because they don't know anything about it. It's like speaking. Both of you speak English, but they're speaking out of like liability and like compliance and stuff like that, and you speak marketing and money and sales. It's a different thing. So if you're able to bridge that, it doesn't just save time, it makes it possible for people.
Yeah, totally. That this is again, it comes back to biz dev, man, and it's a relationship thing. And our businesses do not breed good biz dev skills because we spend all of our time with a computer. We don't like have to spend a lot of time talking to other people. So the guys that can do biz dev strive in lead gen more than anywhere else because that is obviously the most phone focused and they're all older. They want to talk on the phone, etc. But lead gen is tricky if you don't have any biz dev game.
I know that you have a meeting coming up very soon. I want to talk a little bit about Geek Out just before, because that was the the main purpose of this call. So first thing I want to ask you is, many people ask me because they associate me with Geek Out. Um, what happened during the last few months? It felt like it disappeared. And I assumed that it had to do with the fact that you're focused on like probably, I don't know, like different business ventures, and Nick had a kid. So, I thought that had to do with that, but there's still like something else.
Yeah, so and you know me, dude. I'm always like fully transparent, right? So I'll just share it transparently. It was a lot of different things. So I think a big thing obviously was Nick having a kid, right? Like Nick had a lot of involvement in the brand and then he needs to be a dad. You know what I mean? Like it's a much more important thing than being a geek out guy, right? That was one thing. The second thing is we started doing too many events, right? We tried to do too many per year. So I felt that we kind of like really burnt out the specialness of the events where it was like, oh man, like I can't wait for a geek out. But it turned into like, oh, there's a geek out every other fucking month. It just, it the scarcity and the excitement that comes with scarcity went away, right? If Christmas was every day, nobody would give a shit about Christmas. So I felt I wanted to make it more scarce. The third thing is we had really pushed harder on direct to consumer e-commerce, right? That was really kind of the route that we were going. But I was in the process of really pivoting to a lot of my more old school roots with lead generation, offers, affiliate marketing, etc. So I'm kind of busy doing my main stuff. And I had a big call center operation I had built at that time, and I just didn't have the time. Like it just did not make Geek Out never makes financial sense compared to working on a normal business. It never makes good enough money to replace actually like running ads and shit. But you can kind of tolerate it because it gives you so much value on the networking side, etc. The problem is that because if you have a bunch of businesses and one is making less money than the other and one is more important, you can just treat this one like this shitty stepchild and not pay attention to it and work on the important one. You can't do that with Geek Out because otherwise you end up with an empty room and you fuck yourself and
Yeah,
it's disgusting. It's
it's all
like
or nothing.
having nobody show up for an event is worse than losing $1 million. Like,
Only second to having no one show up for your birthday.
yeah, dude, it would just break my heart. So even if Geek Out is not making you good money, it's forced to be a fucking priority. And I had a lot of other shit going on. So I'm like, all right, let me just pause on it. And then when we came back and we did it for lead gen and more affiliates again, it just fucking blew up. And this one I'm the most excited about in a long time. A, it's Mykonos. B, the speakers are amazing. C, the turnout is going to be like one of our biggest geek outs ever. But I love the events that have a combination of all the different types of people because I really believe like conversions are conversions. And this is someone who's bought traffic for everything, right? Conversions are conversions. There's definitely a different buying style for e-commerce lead generation or an agency or a big brand, an affiliate e-com, and all the different subsects. But there's so much learning of like new ideas. You said in the very beginning about the silos between Amazon and Search Arb and D2C. When you get everybody together and the lead gen guys are like, boom, advertorials, and the e-com guys are like, oh, what's that? Or you know what I mean? Like all of a
Yeah,
sudden, really cool shit happens, you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that this Geek Out is going to be like a really good balance of affiliates, e-commerce, D2C e-commerce, drop shippers, affiliates, VSL dudes. So I think it'll be really cool to have everybody learn from each other.
Yeah, I mean, the talk about this geek out is that it's going to be like, the good old geek outs, the first ones. So that's one. And I think you summed up exactly, even better than I would say, what's, special about geek out. I think it's a combination of the fact that, it's the size. It's never like, a 500, 300, people
We
event.
always cap it.
Yeah. The people, the type of people, the fact that it doesn't overlap in or it overlaps in terms of like, different fields, but so it's like it touches different industries, whether other events are like Amazon focused or like DTC focused or sourcing focused and stuff like that. And I also think that the kind of like the magic is that you've seen what happens to different conferences once they get sold. It loses kind of like the heart, the magic, that was in the beginning. It doesn't mean that the conference wasn't aimed towards making money. It wasn't looked at as a business, but it is much more business oriented. It's like, when Boeing IPO'd, they started, people who work at Boeing, they say they wouldn't fly on their planes because the company is so much focused on like the stock price that all of their decisions is, whatever moves the stock price, basically whatever makes money. So I think a part of the magic that Geek Out is the fact that it's still owned by the founders and it is not, I believe, or at least I have I want to believe that if you had a choice between A and B would mean you make more money, but it's a less of an experience for people, then I think that you would choose A. You know what I mean? Like
One
if
million
you
percent, dude. 1,000,000%. I
And I
just want
think
to
that the
cover
fact that this isn't your main business and you're making business, you're making money on through other businesses allows you for that freedom. You know, money allows for freedom, and that's how it translates into action. You know.
100%, dude. I just want to fucking not lose on an event, and it's a great win for me. And dude, honestly, the thing about the events is this is gonna be year like 8 with Geek Out, right? And it really started with like 6 people going there, and then eventually it got to 20, and it kind of grew. But like the soul of it, it's still me and what I want to learn about. Like my goal hasn't changed. Like I wanted to learn about the Andromeda update. So I'm like, cool. I'm gonna get this guy that's fucking great and is gonna fully explain the new way that the Andromeda algorithm is supposed to work with the ad recall and everything else. Well, that's how I started this fucker. Was like, I want to learn more about drop shipping, so I'm gonna get people to teach me about it. And I think like the problem when people sell the events is that the founder look, if I go to a party at my house or I go to a party at your house and we have the same 50 people, they come to my house, they come to your house, the party will be totally different
For
because the
sure.
vibe of the party is dictated by the host.
Yes.
And when these companies sell, the host is not there anymore. It's just like going to an empty place to have a party. So you lose the flavor, you
I
know?
completely agree, and I see it with business as well. Like, you know, the head of the company really dictates how people are and how people behave. But I also think that what's unique about Geek Out is the connection, at least I see it has to like positive psychology. That's the only event that is at its core has that mentality of like wealth, you know, and which is something, by the way, that many Israelis are lacking. And um, I can definitely understand why, but because you know, Israeli is like, you know, if you're making money, you're making money on my expense. This is food you're taking off my kid's mouth, you know,
It's a
and
zero
whether
sum
like
game.
yeah, and like Geek Out is more like, hey, you know what? There is a wealth of money in the world. It flows. It changes directions sometimes. It changes locations, but it's out there. And we're here to help make money. Whether it's I introduce you to someone, you know, we're not gonna fight over clients or something like that. You know, we're here to do good. So, which is something that's weird or not natural in like sales in like digital marketing per se. You know what I mean? Um, so I know that you have a meeting coming up. I don't want. Usually I don't even make it that long. I do want to say again authentically, I am getting zero commissions for my Geek Out sales. I want to leave it that way because it's Geek Out, and Geek Out for me is home. I will post this on my socials. I will do it today, and I will have a link with I think a small discount that I have gotten from Jimmy, the producer, so you guys can sign up. Keep in mind, this isn't something that, you know, I think we have something like 8 or 12 places spots left. When I'm recording this, it might be less when it's posted. So if you guys want to join us, I think if there is one event to try, and invest money on, it's this one. It's going to be life changing, I am sure, for many, many, many people that come. Uh, and it's going to be fun as hell. It's a perfect way to start the summer. So especially if you're coming
100%.
for Corona.
And look, obviously it's my event. Like he said, it is almost already sold out. Yeah, this one's gonna be fucking great. It'll be one of the best ones we've ever done. I've already been looking like when we have an intake form and we ask people like, oh, what do you spend per month, etc. It's already over $100 million a month, dude. When you add up everybody, like that's a lot of really great people in the room. And they're gonna be really nice and friendly and sharing. Like that's what happens at all our events. Is you have really successful people that act humbly and just talk to everyone and share and figure out some new shit together. Like it's really, really fucking special thing. And it's not just because it's mine, but it really is. I've done them long enough to know now that this is a special thing. So if
Yeah,
you're thinking about it, you should definitely do it. You won't regret it.
yeah. James, thank you so much.
Thank you, King.